So if you keep up with the channel, then you know that we buy a lot of guitars. We do a series almost every week called Fresh Finds, where we show you all of our new acquisitions. We go to guitar shows all over the country looking for guitars. We literally shop all over the world for stuff and are always doing deals. And we've even done a few videos showing some of my favorite finds that we've had in the last 6 years. I wanted, as an anecdote, to add that for every guitar that we buy, we probably looked at 50 or 100 that we didn't buy. I'm only buying the stuff that makes the most sense for the shop or the best examples that I can find. And in that search, there's been many that I ended up passing on or couldn't close a deal on that I really wish I could. And today I'm gonna go through 5 examples of guitars that I wish I got that I didn't end up getting. Let's start with number 5. This one was the most recent. This was at the Indiana Guitar Show this year, which was a really fun show. It was dealer day and we were just starting to unpack our stuff, and a dealer approached me with a 1966 Fender Mustang in candy apple red. And they said, hey, I wanna sell this for this much, or I'd be willing to trade it. And the price they had was totally reasonable, but it didn't make sense to buy it in as a shop, as it was just kind of the retail value of the guitar. But I was very intrigued and was hoping that we could make a trade. I remember the guitar was mostly original, but not all original. It was a really good example, but it was not like the finest, best Mustang I've ever seen. But it was a good one. And I remember his offer ended up being, he wanted a Gibson Les Paul Studio and a really nice Epiphone Casino that we had at the time. And those 2 guitars were good, and I kind of was putting the numbers on paper, and the move to the Mustang maybe was a little bit in the right direction, but there just wasn't enough margin there for it to make sense for the shop, at least on paper. Obviously, running a business, we have to have some margin to make deals and to pay our employees and pay for the building and do the whole thing. So there has to be a little bit of profit in there, and I just didn't see moving from those 2 guitars into one Mustang moving in the right direction enough. I honestly wish that I still ended up doing that deal, even if it wasn't a huge move, because we still have that Les Paul Studio and that Epiphone Casino. I'm always looking to kind of move stuff in and out, so I do wish we closed that and we got a really cool vintage Mustang in exchange for 2 guitars that aren't as rare, aren't as hard to come by. Yeah, I just wish we got that deal done, but it's all good. After that didn't work out, we moved on to another thing and did lots of other cool deals at that show. Can't win them all. So number 4, this one was back in like 2016, 2017, which is very relevant to the story. This was a Fender Pawn Shop Series Bass 6. Really, really cool instruments. I absolutely love these, and we fortunately had a ton of them over the years. So I went into a shop and they had one on the wall that was really, really clean, and they wanted $800 for it. Now keep in mind, they made these new, and I think they were about $800 until 2014. So in 2015, you could still kind of find them new, but by 2016, they were not being sold new anymore. They'd been kind of sold out everywhere, and they would pop up online, not for really any more than they used to sell for at retail, but they weren't too common, but there wasn't really a good established value of these at the time. Reverb was a big company at this point, but it wasn't like now where there's tons of sold listings and tons of active listings and you can really easily pinpoint market for something. It was kind of a shot in the dark if this was gonna go for any more or less than the initial retail. And being that this was at retail, I was really trying to work a deal here, but it wasn't worth paying full price for it. So I ended up passing, and within just a couple years of that, it became very clear that these guitars were no longer going to sell at that $800 retail price. I've seen used ones go for as high as $3,000 now. So I really wish I got into this one for $800. That would have been a really great buy, but I went on the conservative end and said, you know what, I'm not going to spend retail on a guitar that's only been discontinued for a year. We don't know what's going to happen with the value. I didn't want to be into it so much, so we'd have to charge what felt like an unreasonable price at the time. You can't buy everything. You can't assume everything's going to go up in value. And this is one of those situations where it would have been a good idea to jump on it, but just didn't make sense at the time, and I wish it did now. Number 3 was much more recent than that. This was at the Asheville Guitar Show this year. Somebody came up to our booth with a really, really clean Omnichord, and they wanted a very fair price for it. So I bought it from them immediately, no negotiating, just said, hey, it's a cool piece of gear, that's a good price, so we bought it. And where we missed out was he said, oh, I have another Omnichord that my friend has, and he's walking around the show with this. So I was like, all right, where is this guy? Bring him to our booth immediately. We must acquire the second Omnichord. And by the time he made it over to our booth, it had already sold. I think he said this one was an OM-36 in the box, the whole thing. I really wish we got that because I love Omnichords. You don't find them that often, and you really don't find them clean that often. So anytime I have a chance to get my hands on one, I do it. I've been very fortunate to find quite a few over the years, but it wouldn't have hurt to have one more. So I wish that that one happened. Number 2 was not something for the shop. This was something that that I wanted for me. I was on tour in 2019 with my band Secret Keeper, and we went into the lovely Chicago Music Exchange, and I saw hanging on the wall a 1960 Gibson Les Paul Special double cut with the P90 pickups in a nice dark cherry red. It's a very me guitar, and they only wanted $3,500 for it, which at the time was a really good deal. It's not as crazy as it is now, but this was still a really good deal at the time. But it had a headstock brake, and that's okay. Those can still be great players. The guitar that I probably gig with the most actually has a headstock brake. It's a 1995 Gibson Les Paul Special in TV yellow. That brake was repaired properly, so it doesn't take away from the guitar at all as a player, so that's no problem. But I get this Les Paul Special down, and I'm playing it, and it sounds incredible. The neck profile is super slim, which I really, really liked, and it kind of checked all the boxes. It was a good price. It wasn't completely staying in tune, and I couldn't get it all the way intonated, which, being that it's a junior special, they just had the wraparound tail piece, and there's kind of only so far that can go. Because of that, I ended up passing on it, but now I wish I took a chance with that guitar because it could have been something really, really cool. On the other hand, maybe it would have been a problem. Maybe it wasn't a great repair and would have been problematic later, but there was some potential there that I definitely passed up, and it would be really cool to have that guitar in my collection now. I wish I didn't pass on that one. Before we get to number one, I have a few honorable mentions. Two of these actually were at the San Rafael Guitar Show this year, which we did a video on, which you should go check out. The first one is a Gibson SG Junior from 1963. Again, kind of like the Mustang I talked about earlier. A really cool example, not totally original, but it was clean and it was all there. They brought it over to our booth. This may have even been in the video, I don't really remember, but brought it over to our booth, checked it out, played great, sounded great, and I was really trying to get a deal going, but they weren't really ready to close it, and I was doing everything we could to get it in, just couldn't make it happen. And then I saw later at the show that another dealer ended up buying it, which is cool, but wish that we were able to get that one. It was really fun. Then again, at the same show, there was a really cool custom shop Fender Tele Custom double bound. Again, we were really close to making a deal, just gonna get there, and it actually ended up getting sold to Diablo Guitars, which is a really cool shop you should check out. Ended up going to a good home, so we love that. I do wish we ended up getting that Tele because it was right up my alley, and I think we would have done really well with it. My last honorable mention actually will parlay very nicely into my number one pick. This was a 1963 reissue Gibson SG Special in Pelham Blue that I played at the Gibson Gear Garage earlier this year in Nashville. You can actually check that guitar out in the video we did about guitar shopping in Nashville. It sounded great, it played really great, it checked all the boxes, but I just don't really have a need for a $6,000 or $7,000 custom shop piece for my own collection. That's a little beyond the threshold of what I would be gigging with, so it would end up staying at home, and that's no fun. So I did not end up picking it up. I wish there was a reason to buy that guitar because it was a good one. So my number one pick parlays really nicely with the last one, as well as with my number two pick. And this was a 1961 reissue Gibson Les Paul Special double cut, again in cherry. And this one was serial 11111. And it was the one. It played really good, great slim neck profile, fantastic sounding P90 pickups, and it was everything you look for in one of those guitars. Again, it was just above that price point where I felt like I would buy it and actually go out and use it and enjoy it. I want to keep it at home, and so I didn't end up jumping on it, but it was just so funny that the serial number was all ones. I wish there was a reason I could have bought that guitar because I would have been all over it, and I'm sure I'd be playing it a ton today. I'm bummed that one got away. If I run into it again, even at the same price, I'm probably gonna buy it, even if that is a potentially poor financial decision. I need that one. If you have it, let me know. I couldn't fathom anyone watching this channel is the one that went home with that guitar, but if you got it, then hit me up. Hope you guys enjoyed that list. Lots of cool guitars there. And like I said, for all the cool guitars that we do get into the shops, you see behind me and all these other videos, we're looking at so many examples. We can't get literally everything. And I would rather have it this way, that we missed out on a few rather than buying a bunch that made no sense. Always stay picky, but if you find something you really like, you might not ever find it again. So if it makes sense to jump on it, I always recommend you do. Thank you guys as always for taking the time to watch these videos. Let me know down below in the comments what guitars you guys have come across that you didn't end up getting, that you wish you did. I'm sure there's gonna be lots of good stories, so I can't wait to read those. We did a bunch of other cool videos about guitars we did find recently, so definitely go check those out. We've done a bunch of guitar shows this year, as well as a bunch of episodes of fresh finds and other lists of the favorite guitars that we found or craziest deals we've done. If you want to check any of that out, it's all on our channel. Check out all the guitars you have available for sale at philosophygear.com, and if you want anything, let us know and we'll make it happen. We'll see you guys in another video soon. Bye.